everybody to the Single on Stilettos show. I'm Suzanne Oshima, and I'm a matchmaker and dating coach at Dream Bachelor and Bachelorette, and I'm also the founder of Single on Stilettos. Today we have on our show Mr. Locario, and he's a dating coach for both men and women at MrLocario.com. And I'm so excited to have him here today because I know, ladies, I know you love to get the male perspective on what they really think about women and dating. So welcome, Mr. Locario, to the show.
Hey, how you doing? Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you here. So before we jump into this controversial topic, it's your fault you're single. And I know a lot of women are probably getting angry that you're saying that. But before you do, I would love for you to tell our audience how you became a dating coach.
Well, basically what I did was I'm also an actor and a rap artist, but, you know, that wasn't really making me that much money. So I was like, I need to do something that I still love doing and that I can, you know, make a living off of. So what I started doing was I was helping my friends, you know, get girls. I was helping my girlfriends get guys and stuff because I used to date around a lot. I knew what I was talking about. And it just, you know, snowballed from there. I started making videos, articles. I was writing for different websites. And then a lot of people just kept hitting me up for advice. So I've been doing it for about like 7 years now. So it, you know, and I get a lot of good feedback from what I do.
Great. I know, and I've seen some of your videos, and you give great advice. So let's just jump into the topic of why it's women's fault that they're single. So can you tell us the reasons why?
Right. So I have a couple of reasons. I'll give a couple. So the main reason is that, you know, most women don't realize that it's their responsibility to, you know, they have to take responsibility for their love lives. So a lot of women think they expect the man to kind of do everything. And they're just being a little bit too passive. And, you know, women can actually, you know, take control of what they want in their dating lives. So one of the things I would say is, you know, women don't take enough time to date. You know what I mean? A lot of times I hear women that, even clients that I work with, there's a lady that I'm working with, and she, you know, when I first met her, she was like, yeah, I went out on 3 dates in 6 months. And I'm like, you need to date more. There's more guys out there. And the reason why you're not finding the guys, because you're not taking more time to date other guys.
I love that you said that, because it's the same thing that I tell my female clients all the time, is that it's, and I know men say this more than women, but it's a numbers game, quite honestly. If you, the more dates you go out on, the more chances you have of meeting Mr. Right, the more chances you'll get into a relationship. So you're absolutely right, is you can't go out on 3 dates in 6 months.
Right, exactly. And another thing too is, you know, just being too picky. And, you know, I really get on people for that. It's, you know, you want someone that you're attracted to. You want someone that, you know, you have a good time with. But when you get too picky, you kind of almost look for faults. Just, you know, you get into the habit of looking for faults. And then that's where you kind of mess up on, because you might miss out on a great guy because you're being too picky. You know what I mean? So that's a real big issue.
Thank you for saying that, because as a matchmaker, I hear that all the time, is that they want, and quite honestly, it's both men and women, is that they want this, they want this, they want this, and they won't even go out on a first date if the person doesn't have all those things. And it's very rare that a person is going to have 100% of what you're looking for.
Right.
It's, you got to just go out on a first date and just have fun. Stop worrying about all these other things that you want the person to have. Because how many times, ladies, have you gone out on that first date with somebody who had your checklist and you had no chemistry whatsoever, right?
Right.
Okay,
exactly.
So what's another reason why it's their fault that they're single?
Another reason too is women tend to not give guys like a second chance a lot of times. So you might go on a date with a guy and he'll say something that you know, he's like, well, I like, you know, cupcakes, and you're like, oh, I hate cupcakes, so I'm not gonna call this guy again. You know, so it's like, you know, when it's little things that's not really that big of a deal, you know, give the guy another chance. I actually had a client who, she went out on a date with the guy, and she was like, you know, she said she didn't like him because he liked Tyler Perry movies, and that was the reason why she didn't see him again.
That's ridiculous.
Right. So I said, go out with him again. So she ended up going out with him again. And now they're actually in a relationship because she actually gave him another chance. You know what I mean? And not really kick him to the curb just for something small. You know what I mean? So if it's something crazy, then yeah, you might not want to see him again. But if it's like, you know, a little insignificant thing, just, you know, let it slide and keep getting to know him, you know, and see where it can go. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And she doesn't have to go see Tyler Perry movies with him. So it's not a big deal. Oh my God. That is so true. And I just want to add one more thing, because I see that a lot too. You're absolutely right. Is they'll discount a guy just because of one little thing. But the other thing I want to add is that the other thing that I see is they'll go out on a first date, and it's like they don't see fireworks, they don't see huge chemistry, so they immediately discount him, but there's nothing wrong with him. And I always say, go out on a second date, because everyone is a little nervous on the first date, so you got to just see, because you never know.
Right, and it takes time to get to know people, so you know you'll see that spark could happen over time. And you know, sometimes it happens at the beginning, but sometimes, you know, if it's nothing like wrong or nothing crazy, then, you know, why not? That's what I always say. And I would say another thing too is, and I think this is very important, and this takes a little bit more time, you know, on the ladies' part, is that, you know, you got to kind of understand the psychology of men, because sometimes men might do things and then you're going to misinterpret it as something else, and he didn't really mean it that way, or it didn't really mean what you thought it meant, and then you're thinking, well, he did this, so that means he doesn't like me, or he did this, so that means he's, you know, being disrespectful, or whatever it is. But if you understand how men think and men operate, you'll have a better understanding of what it means to be with that specific guy you're with. So sometimes you might go on a date with a guy, and then you'll say, well, you know, he didn't walk me home, so that means he doesn't like me, and that's not necessarily true. You know, that guy might, you know, call you the next day and want to see you the next week, but him not doing that specific thing doesn't mean that, you know. And I think women need to kind of understand how guys think and guys operate generally, you know.
Yeah,
and I think that helps a lot.
And I just want to add something. I mean, my audience is all over the world, but in New York specifically, you know, it's everybody lives in different places, and the thing is that when you meet someone out for a date, a lot of women are very careful, and they don't want a guy to walk her home because they're scared. They're like, I don't know him. And so he may already pick up on that, and he may say, you know what, I don't want to walk her home because she may feel like I'm intruding on her space or trying to find out where she lives. So some guys won't do that because of that. So give us another reason why women, it's their fault that they're single.
Right. And I think the last reason I would say is kind of like what I was saying before, is just that women kind of expect everything to be the guy's responsibility for them. So I you know, I run across a lot of women, and they'll say, hey, Mr. Locario, can you teach these guys how to be more committed, and can you teach these guys? And I always tell women that it's never really a guy's responsibility to commit to you. It's your responsibility to find the man that wants to commit to you. And that's like a hard reality for most women to realize. And this is why, you know, I named the book "It's Your Fault You're Single," not to place blame, but to basically say, look, you have the power to make this happen. Like, you don't have to really, you know, just sit back and be passive all the time. If you see a guy, you can be the one to go and talk to him. If you know how guys are acting and you know, the way that guys are, you can understand what's really going on in the situation that you're with. So I always tell women that, you know, the responsibility is really mainly on you to get what you want, and not necessarily think that the guy's supposed to do it. Because if you do that, you're going to just keep waiting and waiting and waiting. And, you know, you're going to be so passive that guys are just going to be passing you along, and you're just going to keep sitting there waiting for the guy to, you know, do the things you want him to do, instead of finding guys that want to, you know, that connect with you, and that, you know, you have that chemistry with, and that connection to actually make what you want to make happen. You know,
would you say that a lot of women waste time dating the wrong guy that isn't, like you talked about, isn't ready to commit? Do you think a lot of women do that?
Yeah, of course. I think, you know what it is too, is that I notice, you know, with a lot of my female clients, what happens is they're dating guys who, at first, the guy will say, hey, listen, you know, like a woman might say, I want a boyfriend, or I'm looking for a husband. And the guy's like, hey, look, I'm just trying to hook up, you know, and then she's like, well, I can change him. Maybe he's going to, you know, switch it later. And the thing is, you know, it's not necessarily, that's not the case. It's better to, you know, stop seeing him and then continue to see other men who are kind of on the same page as you. You know what I mean? And then that's going to make it easier for you to find what you want, instead of trying to find this guy and change him. And I know a lot of women like think they can change the guy, or he's going to change after a while. And it's better just to find the guy who's at the same place that you're at, you know?
Exactly. And I love that you said that because it's so true. I hear so many women say, oh, but I can change him. I'm going to
Right.
be that woman that can change him. And guess what? A
Right.
man's not going to change unless he wants to change,
Right.
right?
And the thing is, men are, men, we're about freedom. So like we want to be like a man, you want a man who's gonna say, listen, I really want to be with you. Instead of him feeling like, oh, I'm obligated or damn, well, okay, we've been going out for this long, so let me just commit to you. You don't want that because then it's gonna, he's not really fully in. It has to be a guy, just like when a guy sees you and he thinks you're attractive and he has that, impulse to just go and talk to you, has to be that same feeling where he's like, wow, I actually really enjoy being with this woman. I've never been with a woman like her before. I want to be with you. That's and he has to have that freedom to say to himself that he wants that. And that's the type of guys that women need to look out for if they're trying to get in committed relationships and stuff like that.
Exactly. These have been some awesome tips. I love these tips for ladies. So, ladies, there's no excuse anymore why you're single. So, you got to follow these tips and you'll get out there and date and you'll meet the right man. So, Mr. Locario, how can our audience find you?
Yeah, you can definitely find me on my website. That's mrlocario.com. That's MRLOCARIO.com. And you can check me out there.
Great. Well, thanks, Mr. Locario, for being on the show, and
Thank you so much.
And thanks everybody for joining us on the Single on Stilettos show. Our show is available both in video format and podcast format. If you would like to view the videos, you can go to singleonstilettos.com, and if you would like to get the podcast, you can download it from iTunes. And if you would like to get our free report on the top 10 secrets on what attracts a man and what turns him off, you can go to singleonstilettos.com, or you can click right here on the video.